Primal Move begins every session with what's called the Primal Flow evaluation. Primal Flow evaluation is a self-assessment for where we're up to right now with training, so we can screen ourselves before and after training and see where we're ready to be at. We start this by checking ankle flexion, so dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. We're going to start with 10, just forward and back, and then move into ankle circles. So we're going to go 10 times each direction, and after we've done 10 times one way, we'll repeat that by going 10 times in the other direction. While you're doing this, it's important to check ankle mobility. Our first connection to the ground is the foot. If the ankle is not mobile, it's going to be a pretty good bet that the rest of us isn't going to move effectively. So we need to make sure we've got a good solid connection to the ground by having good ankle movement. The next easiest thing to check is our active straight leg raise, and we're going to do 5 of these on each side. So the plant foot goes down similar to a get-up position with the knee bent. The other foot is brought up on its own without any assistance. Leg goes completely straight. Then we move into the first of our rolling patterns. Developmentally, this is one of the very first things we do. Developing these primitive patterns is very helpful to build a lot of other athletic movements. We put hands on thighs, hands on kneecaps, and roll side to side and look back in each direction. We're going to do 3 of these on each side and then move straight into a more advanced rolling progression. Holding onto my big toes here with my index fingers, I roll side to side and continue that active hamstring flexibility by stretching out my top leg on each side. So again, 3 times on each side, and then we're going to move into a slightly more advanced version where as I roll to the side and extend that top leg, I use it to help me sit up into a butterfly position. If you're a jiu-jitsu player, you'll be familiar with the butterfly position. It's a very common stretch for martial artists as well. And we're just going to continue these rolling patterns, and we do 1 more because we're doing 3 on each side. So we've got 1 more to go to the other side. And this time when we roll to the front, we're going to come into what's called a figure 4 position. So my position here, I'm upright, my T-spine is extended, I've got my front foot flat on the ground, my bottom shoulder, so my backhand's shoulder is packed, the shoulder blades pulled in and down, and we're going to do 5 of these on each side, rolling from side to side on our hips, using our hands to carry our weight and support us and let us get up straight. After we've done 5, we're going to come into still a figure 4 position, but it's a lunge position. So my front foot stays flat on the ground, I'm sat back down on my back heel. So where we had dorsiflexion in the very first part of the movement with checking the ankle movement, now you can see I can develop plantar flexion in the back foot by getting some passive stretching with my body weight sitting on my ankle. If you can't attain that position, you've probably got some things you need to work on. Now as we come into, we're going to do 5 of these on each side. As we come into the 5th one, we're going to transition to cat-camel. So cat-camel is a thoracic extension and flexion movement. You can see I've just moved into it here. So my hands are flat on the ground. I'm just working on flexing and extending my T-spine. And I'm going to do these back and forth from side to side. We're going to do 2 of these on each side. I'm doing 3 spine waves each time. So now as I roll back, I come to the original side, hands go flat on the floor, and I do my T-spine extension and flexions. You'll note the front foot stays flat on the ground, so it's always flat on the ground. If you're up on your heels, move your front foot a little bit further away from you so that you can keep that front foot flat on the ground. And then this time when we roll back, we're going to move into ankle mobility. So again, my front foot stays flat on the ground, and what I'm concentrating on doing is driving my knee out over my little toe. So it's no good having the knee collapse in and go over your big toe. The knee has to track the foot correctly, which means that it travels out in line with the little toe. Hands stay flat on the ground, front foot, the heel is still planted. Now from here we're going to transition into a 4-point position. So this is a crawling, rocking position. Rocking is another one of our very early developmental patterns, and I'm transitioning in and out of figure 4 here to get into my rocking position. Each time I get into a rocking position, I rock forward and back 3 times. You'll note my ankles are dorsiflexed. We don't want feet flat on the ground, so if the top of your foot is on the ground, you need to work to get yourself into dorsiflexion. Again, this is still can be part of your self-assessment as to how much ankle flexibility you've got for the day. Good ankle flexibility is going to help you with a solid squat and many other athletic movements. We've just about done 3, so I'm going to go into my last one here. And then after I've done 3 rocks, I'm just going to transition into a push-up position, clock walk my hands around, line myself up so I'm nice and straight, and then set myself up in a crawling position. Now, crawling is hands and feet on the ground, knees off the ground, and we're just going to take 3 steps forward and 3 steps back. You'll note at the end of every 3 steps back, I just reset my feet and get myself back into a square position. So I've got my hands and my feet level at all times, and then I start crawling forwards and crawling backwards. And because it's 3 steps, I use a different hand each time. Now, next we're going to introduce just a little bit of light movement, a little bit of speed, a little bit of intensity. It's really a low-level plyometric kind of drill. It's a preparatory thing for if you wanted to be doing much faster work or heavier and harder work. You'll see I move into my push-up position quite quickly as well. We take 2 steps to each side, drop into a push-up in the center, and then 2 steps back to the other side, and then we're ready to get into our final movement. So from this push-up position, I'm going to move back to a squat position and walk my hands back, and then into a table or a bridge position where I get my hips up nice and high. I walk forward back into my push-up position, and you know, this time when I go back through my squat, I go to the other side. So I'm really working on some active hip mobility on either side, because as you notice as I go back, one side has to be a little bit more stretched out than the other. And I come back again, I check my squat always in the middle, make sure I've got a good solid squat position, crawl back again, check my squat, hips go up, and we've got one more to do. So crawl forward, check the squat. Now by this stage you should be feeling fairly warm and you should be about ready to train. So I hope you've enjoyed our little warm-up primal flow. We've just got one last one to do. You should be ready to go and train, and we'll see you next time.